All right, welcome back to the Sports Circus. Your ringmaster Sal Tuzolino is not here. I am Lenny Atkins, voice of the people. We also have our WA correspondent and WNBA world champion, Alicia Thompson. I should call her Styles today because she has all that style looking with that hat. How you doing there, girl?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Want to get a sponsor out on this? Ladies and gentlemen, this segment of the Sports Circus is brought to you by Legal Shield, providing legal protection wherever you need it. You never know what's around the corner. You never know what you might get into. Give Legal Shield a call at 213-245-1305 for dependable legal protection for less than $1 a day. That's a great deal, people. Call them today at 213-245-1305. The Sports Circus, this is the Friday edition. We have some wonderful news that Monday through Friday, the Sports Circus will be held in Southern California on KCAA. That is 1050 AM, 103.5 FM, and 102.3 FM, excuse me, and 106.5 FM in the Southern California area. We're also heard in Las Vegas on 920 The Game, 670 The Score, and in Arizona on Tuesday nights, we're at 1060 AM in the later evening hours. So what we wanted to do now is we wanted to go ahead and start talking about the NBA, okay? So the NBA, we had a great Game 7 yesterday, or at least we thought we were going to have a great Game 7. That didn't happen whatsoever. We had the Spurs coming into the Rockets' house. James Harden in all of his beardiest glory. He was in his own house. Don't really have too many reports of injury for these guys as far as the Rockets. But, Alicia, they did have some injury report over there on the other side with the Spurs, did they not?
Yes, they did. We had Kawhi Leonard, who was out with an ankle injury, a sprained ankle. You know, I've said it before, in a Game 7 situation, depending on how severe it was, you gotta take that thing up and play. You know, this is everything on the table. You got to compete. And again, I've seen players in and out, you know, game in and game out who have had, you know, some ankle sprains, and they just take that thing up and play when your team needs you. But the Spurs were able to do it without him. Second thing, Tony Parker out with his injury as well, quadricep tendon, and the Spurs were still able to go in, rock Houston at their place with two of their best players out. I don't know. Houston just was not ready. They did not come in ready to compete, obviously.
Not ready. It's like they weren't even awake for the game. It's like they should have held a fan rally at that time. They should have sold 50-50 tickets, and they could have had some people come out and say, hey, you're the winner, not only of the 50-50, but you get to suit up in Harden's jersey. Because Harden is obviously not here in the house today, because when you get beat in your own house, I mean, you look at all the factors, okay? So he gets beat in his own house. That's sad. You get beat in your own house without the opposing team having two all-stars that are missing. That's really sad. But then really sad is getting beat in your own house with an absolute beatdown of 114-75. Now tell me tell me if this sounds like an MVP candidate, okay? An MVP candidate, you check off the marks, you say, okay, an MVP candidate, would that be somebody who was second in the league in scoring? Check. They could be considered an MVP candidate. How about would an MVP candidate also be one that led the league in assists for the entire year? Yeah, you could put a check mark there. And would an MVP candidate be somebody who, let's say, got to the free throw line and made the most free throws in the NBA for the entire season? Put a check mark right there. But does that same MVP candidate sound the same, Alicia, when I tell you this stat, Alicia, the beard that is weird, James Harden, the alleged MVP of the league, in a Game 7 in his own house with the other team undermanned and possibly the defensive player of the year in the claw, Kawhi Leonard, is out of the game. and he goes, Alicia, make sure you're hearing me right. He went 1 for 2 in the first half.
Oh my goodness. Yes. That's just you're like you said, he did not show up at all. This is why I like LeBron James. This is why King James is King James, because in a game 7, he's putting that team as an MVP. You put the team on your back. You have to have double-digit scoring. You have to have rebounds. This is where you're just putting it all on the line. James Harden just didn't bring it. As an MVP, you can't go out shooting like that in a game 7. Most definitely not losing the game by as many points as they lost the game.
No, and let's tack on further that James Harden, not only did he go 1 for 2 in the first half, but he took 11 total shots in the entire game, and he went 4 for 6 from the free throw line in a game 7 elimination. Let me tell you, I was watching the game, Alicia, and he was just bumbling and stumbling all over the place. You would have thought that the man was hypnotized by somebody, or that somebody in the crowd had one of those witch doctor voodoo dolls that had like a beard on it, and they were like cloaked, and they were like slowing him down, making him trip, because it wasn't him. I mean, that's just that's inexcusable. For you to be the MVP, the other team is undermanned. You don't have that defensive pressure on you, Alicia, and you're going to come up like I said, like somebody has a doctor's witch voodoo doll or something on you. I mean, is that inexcusable or what?
Well, in James Harden's defense, as a former professional athlete, you do have games where you're just not your best. You have your games where you're in that zone state, which is zone state meaning every shot you put up, the shot's going in. You get every rebound. Everything is going your way. And just as everything goes your way, you do have those games where things don't go your way. But again, as an MVP candidate, and I've been in that place before, as the top player of my team, making it to regionals in high school, playing one of the best teams to go to state, I didn't hit a bucket. I mean, I hit a few, but it wasn't the same player that I've been the whole year. So I know that it happens. But again, 4 for 6 from the free throw line, this is telling me that he wasn't being aggressive. He wasn't trying to get in there. He wasn't trying to, create some things for himself. And this is where I'm thinking, as an MVP, you didn't really show up because you don't shoot 4 for 6. And that's, again, it's not being aggressive. So I think this is where the problem is with James Harden in this game.
Well, I wouldn't give him any type of a pass or grace on this, because when you look back at Michael Jordan, when Michael Jordan had the flu and he was sick to his stomach and he still went out there, and Willis Reed went out for a game and the crowd roared, it's not like this guy had any phantom injury. It's not like he had like a bowling ball in his beard tucked away that he just couldn't move, aggressively. Something happened to this guy, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is the only thing that I could come up with. The only thing. I'm here with the people, and they're like, Lenny, what's going on? And I said 2 words. I said, mob ties. They're like, what are you talking about? And I said, this is the only way that an MVP candidate, when the other team is undermanned so badly that you could think that he was throwing the ball to the other team continually and missing open shots and giving the ball away, where James Harden, he doesn't give the ball away. He and Michael Westbrook are 2 out of they were actually formed in the same basketball womb. These guys shoot the ball continually. So the voice of the people, we're going in the sports circus, mob ties for James Harden, because the only way that we can think, broadcasting from Las Vegas, is that was the only thing that made sense, because it didn't make sense watching that guy. Another opinion I wanted to flip the switch on is that Magic Johnson quoted that Lonzo Ball will be evaluated for his talent, and how the team drafts him will be based upon his talent and not having his dad, LeVar Ball, being a factor in the decision. I would like to announce that statement is absolute garbage. Alicia, when you take Lonzo Ball, who's coming with him in a suitcase?
Dad. Dad's tagging along. He's not leaving him. He's not leaving his side. And that could be the detriment of this young man's career, is his motor mouth dad that can't keep his mouth closed, let his son do what he needs to do. I mean, he's just doing way too much, I think. And I understand as a parent, you want to be a part and support your kid, but like we talked about last week, it's too much.
It is too much. You're putting pressure on this young man before he's ever laced it up. We don't know if he's going to have greatness. We would hope for anybody coming into the league, not just him, any rookie coming into the league, you'd hope that there would be great success. You look at some athletes, you look at Kobe, he came out of high school. You look at Kevin Garnett, the big ticket, coming out of high school. Moses Malone, out of high school. Some of these kids are just great. They didn't start off with the greatness, but they ended up becoming great. So we hope that for Lonzo Ball. But the whole thing is that he has got to sever the tie of nonsense with his dad. He's got to, and at one point, he's going to have to be his own man. I mean, even Beyonce Knowles went and cut her daddy off and hired another manager. He just became too obsessive and possessive. So this guy definitely needs to cut himself away from this, I believe. And my last thing, before we go into our last segment, I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, watching the NBA, has the NBA become boring with only 2 teams right now? Realistically, you look at the schedule, there's 16 teams, about half of the NBA can make the playoffs, but really only 2 teams we're going to watch in the NBA Finals, the Cavs and the Warriors. Is there something wrong with the league, and how can we fix this? What's the magic potion?
Other teams just have to step up and compete. It's the same question that I got when, the NCAA Women's Final Four was going on. Same question about UConn. We know that UConn's won back-to-back. How many national championships? They haven't lost a game until this year, and I don't know how many years. And everyone is saying or asking, do I think UConn being so successful is bad for the game? I don't think so. I just think it just means that the other teams that are competing against the good teams need to step up their game. And if you get to a point to where there's 2 teams, 1 team, 3 teams that are winning year in and year out, coaches need to make some changes and players need to do some things to step up to stop these guys. Plain and simple. You can't compete, then you get better and try to take out the champs.
Well, it also doesn't help that they actually stack the teams with this stupid, Durant going to the best team in the West, just stacking up teams. I think they should go back to the old school where there could be some limited swaps of players. If you get your freedom from free agency, fine. But it just seemed pretty lame that he went to Golden State like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap up this segment. We're going to come back with our final segment, which we love, which is the Shut Up of the Week. So once again, you're watching the Sports Circus at www.thesportscircus.com on the NBC Sports Network.